I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, which is the name of the Heavenly Father in the Paleo Hebrew. Yah means he, Hawa means exist. In the name of his only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, with whose name is Yahweh Shai. Yah means he, Hawashai means delivers. In the name of the Holy Spirit, the Rakah Quadash, which Rakah is spirit and Quadash is holy. This is the brother Sagala coming back again with another lesson. I want to inform you that I am giving no medical advice. I am just simply bringing out these news segments which are already downloaded onto YouTube. And I want to give also a fair use warning that I'm not using this to gain any type of monetary value, nor give any type of medical advice once again, but simply just going to bring out a couple scriptures about the Lord. So, I'm going to start this video, which is entitled BC Man Awarded VAC Compensation. So let's watch this, and I have another short video clip that I'm going to play, and I'm going to bring out some scriptures.
A BC man became partially paralyzed following his COVID-19 vaccine. Now the 40-year-old has become one of the first people in the country to be approved for compensation. But others are still waiting. CTV's Michelle Bernaro has the story. With special braces for his legs,
I have no muscle or nerve movement or activity below my knees at this point.
Ross Whiteman is walking again, though with difficulty, and his hands, suffering nerve damage, have become stronger.
Both hands, they're as you can see, they're curled in, and I don't have a lot of wrist strength. That makes obviously doing pretty much everything a challenge.
The former pilot and realtor developed a rare neurological disorder called Guillain-Barré syndrome after receiving the AstraZeneca vaccine in April of 2021. Recent BC CDC data indicates just 10 people in the province have ever been hospitalized with GBS after a COVID vaccine.
But I had full facial paralysis. I couldn't smile. I couldn't show my teeth or anything like that.
I'm just kind of focusing on moving my feet.
For Whiteman, who was also initially paralyzed from the waist down, physiotherapy became a full-time job as he learned to move again.
My world got flipped upside down.
He recently received a letter from the Federal Vaccine Injury Support Program validating his vaccine injury and saying he had been approved for compensation, one of only a handful in the country.
It's vindicating. That's kind of the first thought that came to mind.
Langley's Sean Muldoon, who developed serious blood clots after the AstraZeneca vaccine, is still waiting for compensation and unable to work. Meanwhile, Whiteman said while he's relieved to be getting funding, the real victory will be seeing small improvements in his health.
I've got a long road to go, but I've got a lot of support.
And he says he and his family are ready to face whatever challenges are still ahead. Michelle Bernaro, CTV News, Vancouver.
Okay, we watched that news segment, and this is BC, which is British Columbia, which is a state in Canada. And this is a national news segment over in a national news station over in British Columbia, I believe, throughout Canada. But let's look at some of these comments below, and let's see the public consensus when we're talking about how they feel about what's been happening and what's been going on. So I'm going to read a couple of these comments. The government officials, this is from a cat called Joseph McKenzie 5 days ago. The government officials who mandated these V's need to be held accountable in Nuremberg. And what is Nuremberg? Nuremberg is it's like a world court, for war crimes. So this is other people's thoughts. And you have 230 replies under that. I'm not gonna get in. I'm just gonna let's scroll down some. This is heartbreaking. Nobody should be forced to have any procedure ever. Let's go down some more. I feel for this man. Adverse reactions are real and very debilitating. I've had severe facial paralysis and migraines for a year since receiving the first dose of blank blank, and I had only mild improvement, was hospitalized 4 times. And uh if anyone is familiar, there is a singer out here that goes by the name of Justin Bieber, and he's actually going through some of the same things with his facial paralysis, but he doesn't go into the cause of his facial paralysis. But we see likewise happening to this lady Lisa, okay, which she's stating in the comment section under this news segment clip on YouTube. So if YouTube has a problem with me reusing its resources, then it needs to take it down, because this is public information. So do not try to strike me. Poor guy. Hope he gets better too. I've had both V's and the boost. Due to believing it was best at the time, I'll admit I thought those who didn't want the V's were. I thought those who didn't want the V's were. I don't know. I don't know what happened, but let's keep going down. Just a couple more comments. My boss's grandfather has neurological issues after the stab. He can't walk. Still doing therapy. My sister and brother-in-law, nurses in a major, well-known hospital, wouldn't take the stab after seeing all these adverse side effects affecting so many people in the emergency room. They lost their jobs because they refused to take it after seeing all those people hurting after the stabs. Many nurses had many of those symptoms that have been reported on neurological hearing loss, usually extreme bleeding, and more. So many had it that the rest of the doctors and nurses refused the stab and were fired. Sad, very, very sad to hear that. You know, I hope, all of those people can recover, have a speedy recovery, but let's see who's going to give us the recovery. Okay? So let's go to Joel, the 3rd chapter, verse 21. Let's scroll down some. Let's go to verse 19, actually. Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness. So if you go to Isaiah, the 19th chapter, it speaks about the burden of Egypt. And if you look on your dollar bill today, what does your dollar bill have on it? It still has the symbology of Egypt, because according to Revelation, the 11th chapter, verse 8, the place where their dead bodies shall lie, and whose dead bodies these are, is talking about spiritually dead bodies of Israelites, okay? Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans waking up in these days through the unction of the Holy Spirit, letting us know who the Lord's true chosen people are, okay? Egypt be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness. And how is that going to happen? If you realize what's happening with this Russia-Ukraine situation is going to burst out into World War III. I can't tell you when, but it's going to. That's just what it's going to do, for lack of better words. And Edom shall be a desolate wilderness. And where's Edom? Anywhere where these so-called white folks reign. But for the most part, it's talking about over here in America, because it's going to get bombed to shreds. For the violence against the children of Judah, you so-called Negroes, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. But Judah shall dwell forever. And what happened to Judah? Okay, we talking about the so-called transatlantic slave trade, in which that just didn't happen to Judah. It also happened to you so-called Latinos, also you Native Americans. You were part of that transatlantic slave trade, but you know what? The propaganda that gets taught or that used to get taught in the schools, at least, was that the so-called people were taken from West Africa and taken over here to the Americas when really it was just a trading route. And if anyone knows about shipping, you just don't ship things from one place to another, but the shipping goes from one place to the next place, back and forth. For the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land, but Judah shall dwell forever, in Jerusalem from generation to generation. And this is during the coming day of the Lord, because with these missiles, that's going to consummate the coming day of the Lord and signify the coming day of the Lord. If you read in 2 Peter chapter 3, it talks about the coming day of the Lord, and that's going to be with fire. And that fire is going to be these nuclear missiles from World War III. Verse 20, but Judah shall dwell forever in Jerusalem from generation to generation. And, you know, that's when the powers that be are going to be put out of place. And the Lord is going to set up the new powers that be as people, with him ruling over. Verse 21, here's the point. For I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, for the Lord dwelleth in Zion. And why is the Lord going to have to cleanse their blood? Okay, you know, maybe because a lot of people's blood is going to be defiled because of the things that's happening in these days, in which that video clip that we just seen is paramount in describing why the people need their blood cleansed. Okay, because many of people have went down and taken these things. Okay, now I'm going to play another little video clip. I'm going to bring out another couple scriptures. And I'm going to end it. This is really tantamount, though, what's going on. So this one is called Blood.
Creativity and science are not...
Well, a new UK...
This one is called Blood Clot Risk Higher for CV-19 Patients After Stabs Study. So this is a study, and this is another news clip, CTV News. Okay, and once again, this is a public record right here on YouTube. So once again, I'm not giving any medical advice. I'm simply utilizing the resources that's already on YouTube. So do not strike me, strike yourself.
Studies suggest COVID-19 patients face a much higher risk of developing blood clots than those vaccinated with AstraZeneca or Pfizer shots. The study finds that for every 10 million people who received the first dose of AstraZeneca, about 66 will suffer from a blood clotting syndrome. That compares to more than 12,000 more incidences recorded in 10 million people who have tested positive for COVID-19. And joining us now is
I'm sorry. You know, in that last video, when I was scrolling through the comment section, and they were talking about Nuremberg. Nuremberg is a world court system, but guess who's gonna hold court at its coming? That's going to be the Lord, who a lot of people ignorantly call Jesus Christ, but his name is Yahushua in the Paleo Hebrew, and that's the one who's going to hold this court and get these people who's been, you know, putting these unrighteous decrees. You know how it says in Isaiah the 10th chapter, woe to those who decree unrighteous decrees and prescribe grievousness. Just roughly paraphrasing the first verse.
Dr. Jeff Weiss. He's the executive director of the Thrombosis Research Institute at McMaster University. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so can you help us better understand this study and put it in perspective for us?
Yes, I mean, this study focused mainly on the AstraZeneca vaccine, which is the vaccine that's not being used right now in Canada. I think people are going to be more interested in the data that are coming out with the Pfizer vaccine. And once again, these data indicate that the risk of blood clots is much higher with COVID-19 infection than it is with a vaccination. So the study showed that in people getting the Pfizer vaccine, with 1 million individuals vaccinated, there were 14 cases of hospitalization with stroke, compared with in 1 million people who tested positive with COVID-19, there were 12 times as many, 169 per million cases of stroke. And we don't even know whether the stroke that was associated with the Pfizer vaccine is cause and effect or just an association. We also know that in people with COVID-19, clots in the veins occur almost 100 times more frequently in 1 million people receiving or in 1 million people testing positive for COVID-19. We'd expect to see about 1,250 vein clots. Mm-hmm. So clotting problems are much more common with COVID-19 infection than they are with vaccination with either the Pfizer vaccine, the AstraZeneca, or the AstraZeneca vaccine. And really, I think this information should just inform individuals that they need to get vaccinated.
Yeah, and Dr. Weiss, I was just going to ask you, if anyone watching is vaccine hesitant, put in perspective how this risk compares to not being vaccinated.
Yeah, I mean, to not being vaccinated, your risk of getting a blood clot is at least 10 to 100 times higher. Plus, we know with the information you just announced that in the cases, new cases of COVID-19 infection in Ontario today, 80% are in people who aren't being vaccinated. Most of these cases are with the Delta variant, and we know that the outcome of patients with the Delta variant is worse than with the original COVID.
So what I glean from this is that they're saying that there is a higher report in people with blood clots that are not receiving the stab, which is, in my opinion, BS. I'm gonna call BS on that one, because I've had the actual sickness. Okay, I've had the sickness, but I haven't had the stab, and my heart rate or my blood pressure is still the same, whatever the case be. I'm not a medical doctor. I can't tell you what you can do and what you can't do, but you can, especially from reading those comments from the last ones, people are getting debilitating diseases, but this is what they want to push to you in the news. But what I'm gleaning from this is that they're saying the risk is higher if you don't get the stab, right? Your risk of blood clots is higher that you don't get the stab, but there's plenty of news articles that says differently, and there's plenty of different news segments that says differently. And even when you read the headline for this video, it says blood clot risk higher for CV-19 patients after the stab, and this is a study. So what they're talking about seems like it's going contrary to what the title was saying. But let's get into some of these comments, because these people could tell you anything, but let's hear the consensus, the public consensus, because the public consensus is not going to be on the news all the time. Okay. What a perfect time. And this is from 9 months ago. 10 months ago. Even the FDA senior leaders just quit because it's going to get ugly when more horrific side effects start showing up. I would like a link to this study and who did this study, please. So could you please put a link to this study? Makes sense, since blood clots come from an immune over-response, like the kind provoked by an actual viral infection. I'm just reading the commentary. I'm not giving any type of medical information out. I think this doctor has had more than a few stabs. 50% of the time, it works all the time. Gee, it's almost like we don't know much about these stabs that were not put through the proper rigorous long-term testing process we mandate of all other medical substances. So this is what people are thinking about these. Blood clot risk is higher for a C19 patient because your average patient that actually gets seriously sick from C is overweight or old, you know. Finding random stuff to talk about until Leafs and Raps come back. I'm sorry, what study is this from? Name it, present it, and advise on the measures taken to reach this conclusion. So I'm gonna skip up out of this one. Let's see if there's any other ones. C19 blood clot stab. C19 stab blood clot concerns. Survivor of rare blood clot after AstraZeneca C19 stab recalls ordeal. So we're just going through things that's already on YouTube, these videos that's already put, but they'll try to, you know, and these videos have thousands and thousands of views, but somehow they'll try to attack my channel for misinformation. My channel does not have much viewership at all currently. Blood clots and C19 stabs. Okay, so everybody's linking blood clots to this C19 stab. Now, let's get Malachi, the 4th chapter. Let's get Malachi, the 4th chapter. Bear with me. So this is Malachi chapter 4. Let's get to the full chapter. I'm going to start at verse 1. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven. And we talked about that already. What day is going to come that burns as an oven? Okay, it's talking about that lake of fire. And what is the lake of fire? That we just talking about this nuclear destruction by the intercontinental ballistic missiles that's going to pelt America and other places where this man is in rulership, and the enemies that have conspired with this man to take down our people to, you know, have a translation of power in this world, in which the power paradigm is going to shift unto the lowly. And who's the lowly? Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and the rest of the people who wholeheartedly are waiting for the day of the Lord. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly, shall be stubble, and the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and ye shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. And what does a calf for the stall do? They get fat. And I'm not talking, this is not talking about you know, you getting overweight, but you're gonna be treated good. You're gonna have your meals when it's meal time. You're not gonna have a worry in life. Okay. Shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall, verse 3, and ye shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do this, saith the Lord of hosts. Remember ye the law of Moses my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all Israel, with the statutes and judgments. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet for the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. And I believe in the doctrine that the camp, I'm not part of this camp, but I do follow their doctrine, Great Millstone. Okay, and we wholeheartedly believe that through the coming of their predecessor, whose name was Abba Bivens, we believe that this was Elijah, because he brought the true doctrine once again, And now the Lord is utilizing this camp and his men to turn the hearts of the fathers back to the sons by teaching the truth. Okay, so we are no longer caught into that stronghold, which is called Christianity. But we are, according to Ezekiel the 37th chapter, the house of Israel, the dry bones are awakening up. Okay, they're waking up. They're coming together. They're having life in them. And what is that life? The understanding. Okay, we're coming back to the understanding. So let's look up this. Let's look up palsy, because we understand that the coming day of the Lord, the Lord is going to, that son of righteousness that we were speaking of. This is Yahushua, okay, in which he did many works and healed many people in his day. So let's look up palsy, because in those videos, in that first segment, a lot of those people were going through what you call palsy, Bell's palsy, these diseases that were giving them some sort of disability. So let's start at Matthew the 4th chapter, verse 24. And his fame went throughout all Syria. Whose fame is this? This is talking about Yahushua, who the world calls Jesus. And they brought unto him all sick people that were taken with diverse diseases and torments, and those which were possessed with devils, and those which were lunatic, and those that had the palsy, and he healed them. So the Lord is going to come with healing in his wings. And saying, this is Matthew chapter 8, verse 6, and saying, Lord, my servant lieth home as sick of the palsy, grievously tormented. And what do these people look? Man, you see people that were once looking like the pillars of health. Okay, they had good jobs. They were primarily healthy. But we see the guy in the first video that said that they're going to compensate him. What did he have to? Now he's walking with braces on his legs. Permanent disabilities. Okay, all from what we could perceive to be these stabs. This is Matthew chapter 9, verse 6. But that ye may know that the Son of Man hath power on earth to forgive sins, then saith he to the sick of the palsy, arise, take up thy bed, and go unto thine house. Okay? So this is what we wait. This is what we're waiting for. Okay? For the Lord to tell us, arise, take up thy bed, and go to thy house, because it's not only these stabs that's going forth, but people are suffering from a lot of conditions right now. So even now, we could pray, we could fast, prayer and fasting, reading the Bible. Okay. Now let's look up these other things. Let's go to John 3. Then I'm going to close out. Let's go to John chapter 3. Because there is an instance when the Lord had taken the children out of Egypt, and once again, we're in a spiritual Egypt right now. So the Lord had taken, Yahweh had taken the children out of Egypt, and they were being led by Moses. And because the people start murmuring against the Lord, guess what? He sent them some serpents, some unreasonable serpents that bit them. So let's get a small account. So let's just start at verse 12. So this is John chapter 3, verse 12. If I have told you earthly things and ye believe not, how shall ye believe if I tell you of heavenly things? And no man hath ascended up to heaven, but he that came down from heaven, even the Son of Man, which is in heaven. And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have eternal life. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. And this everlasting life in this world is not talking about the world in the whole world, but it's talking about I think this Greek word is cosmos. I don't want to go too much in this, but this Greek word is cosmos, which just means an order of things. So just like you'll have the NBA, the NFL, you might have the MLB. All of those are worlds within itself. You might have a rock and roll. You have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You have the NBA Hall of Fame. All of those are different worlds or different orders. So what order is this talking about? The order of Israel, okay, in which were scattered throughout the whole world. Okay, so the Lord is going to heal all of Israel and they're going to have everlasting life. But then through the establishment of the kingdom, you know, everybody who endures to the end, the Lord will set up, there will be healing for everybody though. Okay, there will be healing because there's going to be the tree of life. But let's go, for the most part, the tree of life is going, and there's going to be a river in which the leaves fall that goes out, and all of the waters is going to be healed from you know, from the pollution and the nuclear destruction. Okay, you know, the nuclear pollution. So everything is going to be healed, even the people that drink of that water, in which there is going to be a river that flows out into the ocean, and that's going to heal the rest of the waters. Okay, but let's focus on verse 14. And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up. And when you go into that account, when Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, because when the children of Israel were being led through the wilderness, I believe for murmuring, the Lord had, and when you murmur against someone, that means you're talking mess, okay? Because of their unbelief. So as a judgment and as a punishment, the Lord sent serpents upon them to bite them. So we can, you know, we could kind of put those parallels together as what's happening today. These serpents biting us through these stingers, okay? In which they're calling these stabs, okay? So with that being said, hopefully this is an edifying lesson. And, you know, we just waiting on, you know, the Lord our power to come, you know, with healing in his wings, the Son of Righteousness. So, Kal Lau, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, all praises, you know, double honors to the apostles, elders, teachers of Great Millstone, you know, who rule and teach this word in sincerity, truth and sincerity. So, Shalom.